Want to stay informed, get educated, and feel empowered? Stay tuned where information is power.
Eddie Frederick has got it all. Inspiration, motivation, great advice, and biting opinion pieces as only Eddie Frederick can deliver. Eddie Frederick has got it all.
Welcome to EDDIE-FICATION, made possible by the efforts of the Center for Democracy and Good Governance, CDGG. The Center for Democracy and Good Governance is a sound organization established to promote and strengthen democracy.
I want the best for my family, so every meal has to be perfect. Every bite has to say, There's no doubt in my mind that the best in frozen meats and vegetables has to come from the Country Cold Store. Hams, turkeys, sausages, beef, pork, chicken. I just don't know my family is in safe hands. Thank you, Country Cold Store, for being there for us for the past 40 years.
There are some interesting specials available at Country Cold Store's Mini Mart while stocks last. Take advantage of these specials as they assist you to stretch your limited funds.
The Country Cold Store, providing the best in frozen meats and vegetables since 1969.
Need a personal integrity booster shot? Your prescription is right here. Tune in with Eddie Frederick every week. Information is power.
Attention all forward-thinking companies. Sure, you can do with a continuous positive boost to your image and impact your bottom line. If you think training is expensive, try not training and you will experience a perpetual downward spiral in patronage on account of increased dissatisfied customers. Take things into your hands and engage the best at motivation and customer care training with a tried and tested track record. Visit www.efrederick.com now and learn how you can change the atmosphere in your business and improve the customer experience for everyone who does business with you. Spice Island Beach Resort and Belmont Estate are two such local entities of world renown that have benefited tremendously from ongoing customer care, social skills, and motivation training. Training changes everything for the better for any business and every team member. Enhance employee performance through increased awareness and passion for the job at hand. Greater potential in your workforce awaits you through engaged, high-energy training that works. Log on now, www.efrederick.com.
Eddie Frederick has got it all.
You're listening to Eddie Frederick, where good values make great radio.
Inspiration, motivation, great advice, and biting opinion pieces as only Eddie Frederick can deliver. Eddie Frederick has got it all.
Oh, yes, folks, wonderful folks, wonderful folks. Welcome, welcome, welcome. It's a plum-pleasing pleasure once more to have each and every one of you in the room. You know what to do, the honorable thing. Share, comment, like. You just do what you need to do. So welcome to Edification 307 and the 8th for 2026. Today, all apart from our actually, substantive subject, we'll take a bit of history of Sir Eric Gairy, whose 104th birthday was Wednesday last, the 18th of February. As soon as you enter the room today, as I urged you a little earlier, remember to share, comment, like, love, follow, subscribe, or whatever the case may be. We have a lot in store for you today with our very revealing topic. So stay tuned because it's going to be somewhat epic. Good. Our subject for today, or topic, is taken from a quote of Booker T. Washington. Silence makes insecure minds loud. And God knows we are full of insecure people all around us. The latest loud noise we are hearing from the diabolical opposition leader, who obviously heard something totally different from what the Prime Minister actually said, will be addressed somehow in the essence of all that we will be sharing here today, according to Booker T's prophetic words. So if ever you decide to get real, folks, and be your authentic self, be ready to lose members of your audience. A part of that audience, you'd be surprised to know, will be your family, close friends, relatives, people you thought would never leave. Not because you stopped performing. No, not at all. Most people do not like authenticity. They like access. The minute you stop giving them backstage passes, they will say you're different. You're switching up. When a building goes under renovation, folks, it is instructive to note, good, it looks worse before it looks better. There's dust, noise, walls torn down, and people walking past, wondering what happened. You see, they were not there for the blueprint. That is what growth is all about. Drastic changes. When you choose privacy, people will start gossiping because closed doors make entitled people very curious. When you enforce boundaries, you will be labeled unfriendly because locks offend those who expect to walk in freely. When you stop explaining yourself, people will invent stories because silence makes insecure minds loud. But when you stop being easy to control, you become hard to deal with. When you stop being overly available, you become distant. When you stop overextending, you become selfish. But what is actually happening? You are under construction. And not everybody is qualified to tour the site. Authenticity costs approval, folks. Privacy costs popularity. Standards cost comfort. But pretending costs you. And that is more expensive. A hell of a lot more expensive. So you can either be liked or aligned. Because the more solid you become, the more you will disturb anything built on confusion. So if they misunderstand you, let them go ahead and do so. All you've got to do is pay attention, and you will see exactly who they are and what they are made of. Every strong structure looks unstable to someone who doesn't understand engineering. Not everyone needs to understand what you are building. You see, silence makes insecure minds loud. This podcast here today, folks, addresses the issues of gossip, fakes, why people don't appreciate authentic people, and why would political-minded aspirants feel everything said that they feel a sense of guilt about is really about them, and therefore proceed to encourage their minions to come out against the ones who speak nothing but the truth. Folks, look at the intention of the evil and wicked ones among us. The truly and inherently wicked and evil ones, with a proven track record of nothing but evil and wickedness over the period 1995 to 2022 for the most part. But then again, so many of you have this nasty habit of not paying attention that you might think what I'm saying is foreign. They love to talk as if to convince you that they gave service to you, the people, over the years. Go and look at their bank accounts. Go and check their bank accounts for the service they say they gave to you. They have plenty money today, while you are left poor and vulnerable to struggle for the rest of your existence. Yet for all, you continue to follow and support them. And when I say they duncerized and pauperized you, many of you tend to get upset. Could you imagine these people starting with the old nastiness and his successors? You notice it's plural. And you know I have to say successors because there's no definitive one. Hence the confusion with other opportunistic creatures gathering around to see what they can muster when the spoils manifest themselves after the crash. As we know, it is bound to happen. You see, these most evil ones, using the same playbook of the years gone by, and still able to energize their base to believe that the current administration, headed by Prime Minister Deacon Mitchell, the man who paid their relatives, their friends, and in many cases, many of they themselves, their deserved pension, that the old nastiness was withholding from them. The same decent Mitchell who increased salaries of public servants without a fight from the union, only to hear, of course, the union talking rubbish about being left out of the process, as if the government, as an employer, has an obligation to advise them that they are increasing their employees' salaries. The same decent Mitchell administration who regularized public servants more than the administration who kept them irregular for upwards of 15 to 20 years in many cases. The same decent Deacon Mitchell's administration who brought the members of our Royal Grenadian Police Force to the level of remuneration they were prevented from reaching under the old nastinesses entire tenure. The same decent Deacon Mitchell's administration generally done more for workers in Grenada than any other post-independence or post-revolutionary administration. These infidels want to peddle nonsense about the current PM being evil, wicked, and not having any love for people. Y'all had to be real retarded to believe these nastinesses. I hear one recently who, instead of replying to a greeting of someone, making comments about not having any regard for anyone associated with killers of Morris Bishop and others, who was put in her place by being publicly reminded about the number of children she threw while attending high school. Folks, that had to be some good, real rubbish, boy. A lot of people in Grenada feel the people that grew up with them all dead, you know. So they come out like goody two-shoes today, all clean and wonderful, to see if they could throw mud on other people. Well, I heard she was asked, who is the real killer? You see, folks, a lot of people do not realize that the dollars don't make noise is the change. My mother always used to tell us that. Of course, you know who this idiot supports and follows politically. It's a phenotype. Just by their behavior, you know where you could classify them. Only one organization is a magnet for such idiots with plenty skeletons in their cupboard, but love to project who they are onto other people. We all have to remember that the old nastiness made sure the wife, you all remember that? That particular mention, the wife of one of his successors, for the time being that is, was kept on a string and used as a deputy, never confirmed, not even as an assistant, so that upon retirement, he could have collected way more than the just over $500,000 after 30 odd years of tenure. You tell me who could be more evil, wicked, and unloving of people than this old nastiness. Yet for all, they're lining up behind that old nastiness. You see, because many of you never paid attention over the years, this dirtiness could have succeeded in rubbing your heads to believe that Brizan, Alexis, Tillman, and Naz were evil, wicked, and unloving, as uttered by the personification of evil himself. Well, people like me will never let that projection stick on the most decent Mitchell in our local politics today, our current Prime Minister, Deacon Mitchell. No, sir. No way. Hell no. Imagine people in the old nastinesses constituency were never taken out of their decrepit state for all of the 40 plus years he has been there as their parliamentary rep, with his constituency having the reputation of having the most pit latrines in the whole of Grenada. And the decent Mitchell's administration is all up in there putting proper toilets for people, all apart from doing it nationwide. You see why he has a right to be silent, the current Prime Minister? Because silence makes insecure minds loud. I want to proceed on this probing question that really hit me earlier last week, which I readily selected as our title for today's edition of Edification 307, the 8th for 2026. Folks, it's one of those sentences that immediately paints a picture, doesn't it? It implies that the loudest noise in the room isn't always confidence. It's sometimes panic induced by fear. We're going to unpack that today. We're talking about gossip. We're talking about fake news. And we're diving into the strange psychology of why people tear authentic voices down. We're also going to look at a very specific phenomenon. Why is it that when someone speaks the truth, just plain, unvarnished, unadulterated truth, there are people, especially those with something to hide, who immediately assume it's about them? And why do they send their minions to attack? It's a defense mechanism, folks, and we see it everywhere, from the office to the highest level of politics. So if you've ever been the person telling the truth and felt like the whole world was turning against you, or if you've ever wondered why gossip spreads like wildfire in a vacuum, stick around today. Pull up your chair. Pull up your chair. Because we're going to get into it very deep. So let's break down the core idea. Silence makes insecure minds loud. Folks, you just got to love this, you know. It suggests that silence isn't just an absence of sound. It's a void. And nature abhors a vacuum. In physics, if you create a vacuum, the air rushes in to fill it. In human psychology, if you create a silence, an information vacuum, noise rushes in to fill it. But it's not just any noise. It's usually the loudest, most insecure voices that get there first. Let's use a workplace example, for instance, folks. Say a company is going through a merger. Leadership goes silent. They're busy with lawyers and contracts. So really, they don't have time to communicate. But they have everything under control. But what's happening in the break room among staff in the meantime on a Tuesday afternoon, let's say? Chaos. And listen to how some of the conversations go. I heard they're firing half the staff, you know. I heard they're moving out of Grenada too. I heard Karen from HR, she was crying, you know. What is that really? That's the noise filling the empty space, that vacuum. The insecure minds, the people who are worried about their jobs, who thrive on drama, who feel powerless, they get loud. They project their worst fears and assumptions onto the blank canvas of silence. It's the same in politics, as has been our experience here in Grenada. And that brings us to gossip. You see, gossip is the primary weapon of the insecure mind. It's a way to create social currency when you feel you have none. It's a way to feel powerful by knowing something or pretending to know something that others don't. Gossip is also a bonding mechanism. Did you hear about so-and-so? I could tell you about so-and-so, you know. We grew up together, so I know him. I know her. Folks, this creates an in-group and an out-group. The insecure needs that tribe. They need to feel like they're on the inside, looking out. But the irony is, they're usually dead wrong. How many years passed since they grew up together? This time now is more than 40 years elapsed between them. And of course, they grew miles apart. So they really don't know each other. And that is precisely why they're totally dead wrong at that. And this isn't just about offices. Look at social media. When a celebrity goes quiet after a scandal, the comment section explodes. When the fake stories, the wild theories, it's all noise generated by the insecurity of the audience who feels they are owed information. Folks, that's entitlement, wrapped in anxiety, which is a perfect transition into our next point, the proliferation of fakes. Because when the insecure minds get loud, they don't just gossip, they become very creative and they create. They fabricate. Because the truth is often too boring or too complex. A fake story is simple. It has a villain, a victim, and a plot. It's satisfying to the insecure mind because it confirms their biases. The purveyors of gossip know this about their audience all too well. And in the age of AI, artificial intelligence, and deepfakes, oh Lord, we're entering a new dimension. The silence from official sources or from the individuals themselves is being filled with incredibly convincing fakes. The insecure mind doesn't need to wonder anymore. It can just generate a truth that suits its narrative. So the first takeaway here is that silence is not neutral. It is an active force that shapes the environment. And if you leave it unattended, the insecure minds will furnish it with their own furniture, gossip, lies, and fear. If you are into self-awareness and you really know yourself and your intentions are honorably steeped in integrity, no need to worry about all that deep fake thrown at you. Hold your ground and let the silence do the talking. You're getting to know who is who around you. That's all. Silence makes insecure minds, folks. Makes them loud. When we return, we will enter the new realm to answer why we crush the real, why we crush the authentic. So when we come back, we'll take that in.
Want to stay informed, get educated, and feel empowered? Stay tuned, where information is power.
Eddie Frederick has got it all. Inspiration, motivation, great advice, and biting opinion pieces as only Eddie Frederick can deliver. Deliver. Eddie Frederick has got it all.
This is Edification, made possible by the efforts of the Center for Democracy and Good Governance, CDGG. The strength of views and opinions expressed during edification are not necessarily a reflection or representation of the sponsors and/or affiliates of this program.
I want the best for my family, so every meal has to be perfect. Every bite has to say, There's no doubt in my mind that the best in frozen meats and vegetables has to come from the Country Cold Store. Hams, turkeys, sausages, beef, pork, chicken. I just know my family is in safe hands. Thank you, Country Cold Store, for being there for us for the past 40 years.
There are some interesting specials available at Country Cold Store's Mini Mart while stocks last. Take advantage of these specials as they assist you to stretch your limited funds.
The Country Cool Store, providing the best in frozen meats and vegetables since 1969.
You're tuned to Eddie Frederick, where information is power.
Eddie Frederick has got it all. Inspiration, motivation, great advice, and biting opinion pieces as only Eddie Frederick can deliver. Deliver. Eddie Frederick has got it all.
Wonderful, folks. So welcome back. We have a lot of ground to cover today, so no sticking. But I'd like to just say, those of you who are already here, welcome. It's lovely to have you. Remember, if you see anybody missing, you know what to do. Tag them. Come on, give them a little shake up so that we can get more edified today, because Grenada has reached an all-time low with all sorts of dirty people, old stinker, so to speak, lining up to say they want to manage our country. But we have to shove them where they belong, a hole in the ground somewhere. Go from here. We need this country to develop. We need this country to build. And we could only do it with constructive minds, decent people, not this kind of Cocoa Bay people that we just sit down there and close our eyes to for so long, and the country reached nowhere. We're tired with them, and we're tired with their playbook nonsense. So we're going forward in a different way. But look at this. You're actually seeing who is saying all of this. Brave enough, the courage of his conviction to do this. And instead, the response is coming from fake profiles. It's sad. Really, really sad. They never could, contradict what is said, but they see if they could find some mud somewhere to see if they could sling a decent, brave Grenadians. Hello, but I don't give to fill in the blanks. Okay, so we've established the noise, that noise fills the void. But let's talk about the people who refuse to be part of the noise. The authentic people. Hello. The ones who speak plainly. Hello. Why does the world seem to have a problem with us? You see, it's the authenticity paradox or inconsistency. We all say we want authentic people. We admire the straight talker, the one who keeps it real. But in practice, we often find them threatening, annoying, or we try to tear them down. Why? If someone is authentic, aren't they just being themselves? But you see, being yourself is revolutionary in a world that rewards performance and falseness. Think about it. From a young age, we're taught to mask. Use your inside voice. Nah, don't say that. It's rude. Smile for the picture. We're socialized to perform from a very early age. An authentic person breaks the fourth wall. So they remind us that we are performing. Their authenticity is a mirror that reflects who we are. And if you're insecure about your own mask, if you know you're gossiping, if you know you're pretending to like your job, if you know your relationship is a facade, looking at someone who is genuinely comfortable in their own skin is deeply uncomfortable. It's like when you're hungover and someone jumps out of bed at 6 a.m. full of energy. You don't admire them. You kind of hate them. You wished it was you. That's a perfect analogy, folks. The authentic person is the personification of that 6 a.m. energy. They make the insecure mind feel the weight of its own lies. So the insecure mind doesn't look inward and ask, why am I so unhappy with my facade? Oh no. The insecure mind instead looks outward and attacks the person holding the mirror. So it's a defense mechanism. I must destroy the mirror so I don't have to see myself. And this is why the minions come in. This is where they come in. A great word, by the way. You see, the insecure mind, especially if it has a bit of power, will recruit others. They'll find people who are also terrified of the mirror, and they'll form what is called a mob. And that mob doesn't attack with logic. They attack with gossip, with rumors, with character assassination. They try to label the authentic person as difficult, arrogant, and in some cases even naive. Because it's easier to call someone naive than to admit they see through what your nonsense. They're seeing through your nonsense. But this brings us to the really fascinating part. This dynamic where truth tellers are attacked. It is amplified to the 10th degree in the political arena. I mentioned it in the intro. Why do political aspirants or people in power hear a general statement about integrity and immediately think, that's about me? You see, this is one of the oldest psychological truths. The guilty conscience needs no accuser. It's like when you're a kid and your mom says, someone in this house didn't do their chores. You immediately feel your face get hot, even if you did your chores. But if you didn't do them, oh, you feel like she's looking right at you. The person with a clean conscience hears a general truth and thinks, that's an interesting point. The person with a dirty conscience hears the same truth and thinks, who told them that? Who's spying on me? How do I shut this down? So when a writer publishes an op-ed about the importance of honesty in public service, the honest politician reads it and nods along. The corrupt politician reads it and starts making a list of enemies. And because they have power or are seeking it, they don't just get angry, they act. And this is where the minions come in. The political aspirant feeling exposed by a truth they can't refute will turn to their loyal dunce followers and sycophants, whom they feed scraps and convince as a full meal to be their attack party. You see, minions, for our listeners, is an old term for a favorite or a follower, often implying they're willing to do dirty work. So the politician says, that journalist is out to get me. Spread the word, find dirt, make some noise. We heard about this as coming from the war room of the then incumbent during the height of last election campaign, before 2022 that is, when it was realized that the Deacon Mitchell-led NDC was gaining ground seriously. Make up stories, any stories. Don't care whether they have any truth or not. We have to stop them at all cost. You all remember that? But they're still doing the same goddamn nonsense. They weaponize their followers' insecurities. They say this person is attacking us. They frame the universal truth as a partisan attack, then make it tribal. And the followers, who are often insecure themselves, needing a leader to tell them what to think, happily oblige. Folks, it's a brilliant and terrifying manipulation. The original speaker said, the sky is blue, but the insecure leader tells his minions, he said the sky is blue to imply that I think the sky is green. No pun intended. He's mocking my entire philosophy on atmospheric conditions. We must destroy him at all cost. Hey, folks, they create a fiction around the truth to make it seem like a lie. They project their own guilt onto the speaker. The speaker is talking about a universal principle, but the guilty politician makes it specific. He's talking about my vote. He's talking about my deal. He must be silenced. You could imagine if people believe him. And this is why, folks, authentic voices are so dangerous to them. You can't negotiate with an authentic person. You can't co-opt them. You can't bribe them easily. All you can do is try to drown them out with noise. You see, the insecure mind, backed by the machinery of influence, creates a hurricane of noise, tweets, press releases, planted stories. All to do what? Drown out that one clear, calm voice saying, actually, the emperor has no goddamn clothes. He's naked. It makes it sound like if you're authentic, you're doomed to be attacked by mobs of insecure people. So what do we do? If you're that person, folks, the truth teller, the authentic one, how do you survive the noise? First, you have to understand the source. You have to recognize that the attack isn't really about you. It's about them. When someone calls you a liar for stating a fact, they are telling on themselves. They are revealing their own fear and insecurity. So don't take it personally, even when it is deeply personal. It is hard, but it's necessary. You see, the second thing is, do not add to the noise. Don't try to outshout the mob. The insecure minds want you to get loud. They want you to be chaotic because that validates their chaos. It proves you're just as bad as they are. But you see, they say never argue with a fool. They will pull you down to their level and beat you with experience. So what do? Do you stay silent? But we started this whole edition today saying silence creates a vacuum for noise. Folks, I want you to understand this. There is a difference between the silence of absence and the silence of poise. To the insecure mind, silence is a void. They have nothing to say. So the noise rushes in. The authentic person's silence is a choice. It is a refusal to engage in the mud wrestling. So we're saying silence as a response to noise is different from silence as a cause of noise. Folks, if you are the source of truth and the mob comes for you, your silence isn't a vacuum. It actually is a wall. It is a statement. It says, I said what I said. I don't need to defend it to you. And that is how I have been operating for years. It forces the insecure minds to keep screaming. And eventually, people notice that only one side is screaming. Isn't that how our current Prime Minister, the decent Deacon Mitchell, operates? With the noisemakers and screamers in our midst, with all their nastiness, authored by the old nastiness and gang members and crew. Folks, that is why that national nasty party should never ever see the precincts of national leadership in and over this country ever again, because it's gangsters they have there for members. So let your life and your continued truth-telling be the rebuttal. Don't get sucked into the gossip cycle. If someone spreads a rumor about you, there is no need to spread a counter rumor. Oh no, it all comes out in the wash. There's this dirty girl, you have to call her that, a dirty girl, who refers to me as evil. But this same girl was put in a place, in a public place recently, reminded about all the children she threw since she going to school. What could be more evil than that? Me speaking the truth, exposing what she likes, the National Nasty Party. And you know what is interesting? She does hide to listen to me, hide to check out the program. This should shut her up. Folks, you just keep living your life in a way that makes the rumor obviously false. It was Plato who said, when people speak ill of you, live, so no one will believe them. But one other word of advice, find your tribe. The authentic person needs to find other authentic people. You need the people who aren't threatened by the mirror. You need the ones who will say, I see you, I hear you. And I agree with you. Folks, there will be few, but there would be people of substance. They are quieter than the mob, but they are the ones who actually matter. Folks, I don't like people with plenty friends, you know. From the time I get to discover you have plenty friends, I go on. Protect your peace, folks. The mob wants your energy. Don't give it to them. Guard your mind. The greatest trick the insecure minds play is making you insecure too. They want to bring you down to their level. But the victory is staying where you are. That's a powerful place to land. Don't let the noise make you insecure. Don't let the mob define your reality. Silence does make insecure minds loud. But the corollary to that is that the truth makes secure minds quiet, content in their knowledge, at peace with themselves. So if you're feeling attacked today for speaking your truth, take a breath. Make sure you fill your lungs. Recognize that the noise you're hearing is just the sound of someone else's insecurity echoing in an empty room. The room could be filled with bodies, but if the owners of those bodies have no sense, the room is just as good as empty. So even though they do not want to admit that you are speaking the truth, their action and behavior in response is enough. And if you find yourself getting loud about someone else's business, maybe you need to take a moment and ask yourself, what silence in my own life am I trying to fill? Have you ever been a target of the mob for being authentic? If not, it's time to start, because the mob is taking over too fast. And not enough truth tellers to push them back in their holes of existence. Folks, I beckon you to stay true. Stay unspoken as a choice. But for heck's sake, do not lose your focus. You see, silence makes insecure minds loud. But before we take this break, I just want to play a little snippet here for you from an Apostle Joshua Selman. And you'll see why Christianity in the world today, and let's just zero it back down to Grenada, why it is unfashionable, not attractive at all, because we know people like this. Listen to this carefully, folks. Listen to Joshua Selman.
Some of the most wicked people available in every territory are Christians. Nasty and wicked. Wicked in ways you cannot imagine. Wicked to the point of maybe even plotting the death of another. I'm not selling the faith life wrong, but it's the truth. And yet there's never been a time in church history when we pray and fast and do whatever it is.
Folks, let's take a little break. Let's come up for air. You heard? That's Apostle Joshua Selman. A man I admire. He speaks frankly. Let's take him in again for clarity.
Some of the most wicked people available in every territory are Christians. Nasty and wicked. Wicked in ways you cannot imagine. Wicked to the point of maybe even plotting the death of another. I'm not selling the faith life wrong, but it's the truth. And yet there's never been a time in church history when we pray and fast and do whatever it is.
I don't need to add nothing to that. I just leave that right there. But I like this one. All you listen to this, a little bit of, humor.
Here I come. Oh, here I come. The NDC team may be bad, but the fundamental problem is the leadership of the new national party. Here I come. Oh, here I come. Oh. The NDC team may be bad, but the fundamental problem is the leadership of the new
National Park.
Want to stay informed, get educated, and feel empowered? Stay tuned where information is power.
Eddie Frederick has got it all. Inspiration, motivation, great advice, and biting opinion pieces as only Eddie Frederick can deliver. Eddie Frederick has got it all.
This is Edification, made possible by the efforts of the Center for Democracy and Good Governance, CDGG. The strength of views and opinions expressed during edification are not necessarily a reflection or representation of the sponsors and/or affiliates of this program.
I want the best for my family, so every meal has to be perfect. Every bite has to say, There's no doubt in my mind that the best in frozen meats and vegetables has to come from the Country Cold Store. Hams, turkeys, sausages, beef, pork, chicken. I just know my family is in safe hands. Thank you, Country Cold Store, for being there for us for the past 40 years.
There are some interesting specials available at Country Cold Store's Mini Mart while stocks last. Take advantage of these specials as they assist you to stretch your limited funds.
The Country Cool Store, providing the best in frozen meats and vegetables since 1969.
You're tuned to Eddie Frederick, where information is power.
Eddie Frederick has got it all. Inspiration, motivation, great advice, and biting opinion pieces as only Eddie Frederick can deliver. Eddie Frederick has got it all.
Wonderful, folks. And for those of you who are in the way of the snowstorm or bad weather that is hitting New York or that particular region, I want to wish you well. I trust that you all will be safe. But remember, those of you in the diaspora, you have a warm country of your birth you can always come to. And of course, it's not so fashionable to be living in the United States at this particular time of its descent. So study your heads. We are waiting for your return patiently. So stay good, stay well, and welcome back. For those of you just joining, I'd like to say welcome. And of course, you know what to do. Hit that share button and get some more people in the room. But thank you for your viewership today and your, actual interactions. Our next segment here speaks to a question, folks. I want to focus on this particular question. Why people you thought would never leave you and separate from you, to include family, of course, and close friends, why do they do when you keep it real? Is it that they have a problem with your authenticity? Because the truth is, authenticity seems to be a bother for a lot of people. We continue to explore this deep psychology of, I would call it, betrayal by loved ones and answer this core query. Is it that they have a problem with your authenticity? You see, being real has the potential to make you lonely. Not in the sense of missing anyone, but alone and peaceful, as against appearing to be popular with plenty friends, but unhappy, truly unhappy. Folks, I've been meeting so many people since my last few episodes, which touched on authenticity. And there's one question that keeps coming up, and it's the kind that keeps you up at night. It's a question that feels like a knife. Why do people we thought would never leave us, our family, our closest friends, actually walk away when we stop pretending and start being real? The question, why? And the second part of that question, the part that really stings, is that they have a problem. Do they have a problem with my authenticity? Is there something wrong with the real me? But that's fair, isn't it? That if the people who knew us longest rejects the real us, then maybe the real us is unlovable. Maybe we were only ever tolerated when we were performing. Don't know. But today we're going to sit in that discomfort. We're going to look at the psychology of why family and friends separate from us. We'll answer whether it's really about you or your authenticity, or if it's about something much deeper and darker within them. If you've ever lost someone you love simply because you decided to be honest about who you are, this particular segment of this edition is for you. So let's see if we could dive straight into it. The investment in the old you. Let's start by reframing the question. When someone leaves us for being authentic, our brain immediately goes to, they have a problem with me. But we need to ask, what did they lose when I changed? That's a great shift, folks. It moves the focus from what's wrong with me to what was our relationship built on. In other words, what's wrong with them? We need to think of it like a stock portfolio, for instance. You and your friend or family member have invested years in a certain type of relationship. You've invested in the you that laughs at their jokes, that agrees with their politics, that doesn't rock the boat. That's your shared stock. So when I start being real, when I say, actually, that joke hurts my feelings, or I don't agree with that opinion anymore, I'm not just expressing myself, I'm actually crashing their portfolio. You're crashing it. You're devaluing the stock they've invested in for decades. And people get very angry when their investments tank. They don't see your growth as growth. They see it as a betrayal of the partnership as long as you remain stuck with them. But this explains why parents sometimes struggle the most. They invested in a certain vision of their child. The doctor, the lawyer, the good little girl who marries the right man. When you become the artist or the person who questions religion, or the one who sets boundaries, you're telling them their investment was a mistake. You're implying that the person they raised wasn't the real you. And for a parent, that can feel like a profound rejection of their entire life's work. So they don't leave because they have a problem with the new you. They leave because they can't handle the implication that the old you they loved was in some ways a construction, a fabrication. And that's the painful truth. They preferred the construction, the fabrication. The fabrication was comfortable. The construction didn't challenge them, but the real you is challenging them now. So let's tackle the big question head on. Is it that they have a problem with your authenticity? The short answer is no. And this is the most liberating and painful truth you will hear today during our episode. They don't have a problem with your authenticity. They have a problem with what their reflection looks like when they stand next to you. So you see, when you are authentic, you are essentially living in the light. You're being honest about your flaws, your dreams, your boundaries. You're not hiding. To someone who's hiding, who is deeply insecure, who's lying to themselves about their marriage, their career, their addictions, your light casts a very harsh shadow on them. I am the flashlight, and they see all the dust bunnies in their own room that they've been ignoring. They don't hate the flashlight. They hate the dust bunnies. But it's easier to hate the flashlight than to clean the goddamn room. So they project. They say, you're the problem. You're too intense. You're too judgmental. You have changed. When in reality, they haven't changed. They've stayed the same, and your growth is highlighting their stagnation. This is where Carl Jung's concept of the shadow comes in. Everyone has a shadow self, the parts of us we don't want to admit exist. The authentic person integrates their shadow. They say, yay, I am flawed. I am working on it. The insecure person represses their shadow. They pretend it's not there. And when an authentic person shows up, they trigger the insecure person's repressed shadow. It bubbles up to the surface as irritation, anger, and even judgment towards the authentic person. So when your mom or your dad says, you think you're so much better than us now, they're not actually talking about you. They're talking about their own fear that they're not good enough. When your best friend says you've become so preachy since you got sober, getting therapy, found your faith, they're not talking about you. They're talking about their own drinking, their own unexamined pain, their own spiritual emptiness. So their problem isn't with my or your authenticity. Their problem is with their own insecurity that my or your authenticity exposes. You see, silence makes insecure minds exceedingly loud. Exceedingly loud, folks. Let's take a little break and we'll come back with our next segment. Where is this thing? Okay, well, we'll have to use this. All right.
Want to stay informed, get educated, and feel empowered? Stay tuned, where information is power.
Frederick has got it all. Inspiration, motivation, great advice, and biting opinion pieces as only Eddie Frederick can deliver. Eddie Frederick has got it all.
This is Edification, made possible by the efforts of the Center for Democracy and Good Governance, CDGG. The strength of views and opinions expressed during edification are not necessarily a reflection or representation of the sponsors and/or affiliates of this program.
I want the best for my family, so every meal has to be perfect. Every bite has to say, There's no doubt in my mind that the best in frozen meats and vegetables has to come from the Country Cold Store. Hams, turkeys, sausages, beef, pork, chicken. I just know my family is in safe hands. Thank you, Country Cold Store, for being there for us for the past 40 years.
There are some interesting specials available at Country Cold Store's Mini Mart while stocks last. Take advantage of these specials as they assist you to stretch your limited funds.
The Country Cool Store, providing the best in frozen meats and vegetables since 1969.
You're tuned to Eddie Frederick, where information is power.
Eddie Frederick has got it all. Inspiration, motivation, great advice, and biting opinion pieces as only Eddie Frederick can deliver. Eddie Frederick has got it all.
Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Folks, we have a lot in store for you. So just keep your clothes on and let's do what we must. For those of you just joining, I want to thank you for the opportunity to have you in the room with us today, and do the honorable thing. You might have people you know who can well do with this edification. So hit the share button and, of course, help interact. Let's see you like, love, share, whatever you want to do. Subscribe, follow. Just let's make this an interactive 1 hour, 2 hours, whatever it is. This is supposed to be a half-an-hour program. You wanted more, you get 45 minutes. You get an hour. You get an hour and 15 minutes. You'll find what's going on here, folks. Just about every week now is 2 hours, you know. This is a lot of work. You all don't realize how much preparation I have to do to get this going on a Sunday. You know, it's a lot of work, but it's work I love. And you know what they say? When you love what you do, you will never work a day in your life. So why is this topic for today's podcast so appropriate for Grenada's local political environment? Why? You see, this is an excellent question that gets to the heart of why our recent podcast's themes resonate so deeply right now. Based on current events in Grenada, today's subtopic, why people we thought would never leave us separate when we keep it real, is not just appropriate, it's urgently relevant to the nation's political climate. It also has a lot to do with the overall theme for today's sharing. Silence makes insecure minds loud. Our current Prime Minister's penchant for ignoring the nonsense of the opposition factions infuriates them to no end. To this end, a noise fills the intentional and consistent silence he dispenses. He's just not taking the bait and going down in the lolly gutter with them because that's the only place they're comfortable. What I could tell you is that they did not expect the amount of pushback they receive from well-wishers of this decent Prime Minister and his administration, who are volunteering to tell these nastinesses, enough is enough. You see, Grenada is tired of their nonsense, which they got away with when people never used to pay close attention as they have begun to pay today. The same thing that got them elected time and time again in the past is the very same thing that got them thrown out of office, never to see the precincts of government in a long time to come. You see, that playbook has expired. And anyone who feels stuck enough to want to use it will perish. Here's a breakdown connecting our podcast themes to Grenada's current reality. Why this subtopic matters for Grenada today. Why people we thought would never leave us separate when you keep it real. You see, before we dive deeper into the psychology of authenticity and even betrayal, I want to zoom in on something. We talk about these concepts in a universal way, but today's subtopic, why people leave when you keep it real, is playing out in real time right now in the news from Grenada. And honestly, when I look at what's happening in Grenadian politics over just the past few weeks, it's like reading a case study for our entire series. You know, we're seeing the noise of insecure minds, the attacks on truth tellers, and the political fallout of authenticity versus performance. In the meantime, we are seeing people who ought to know better, cheering for the side that projects nastiness on the political landscape with a view to muddying the waters just to get into office. That could only warrant a response of, oh, Gid. I mean to say, that's their choice. But if we pay close attention, it is not just about being their choice. It's really a manifestation of who these people are through and through. And it's sad. When people show you who they are, you should just believe them. No morals, no values, no structure. Just emptiness coming forth from the vacuum they were all along. So let's break down three major stories that prove why this conversation is vital for Grenada today. First, let's look at the US fish ban crisis. Since January 1st, 2026, the United States has banned all fish imports from Grenada. A trade worth, I would say, millions annually, supporting many families too. This is a genuine national issue. Fishermen in Carriacou and Petit Martinique are losing their livelihoods. Now, here's where our theme comes in. The opposition, led by the TV, and you know what we mean by the TV. The TV, that television figure, but gerrymandered by the old corded remote, went to those communities, met with face-to-face with the fishermen. Fishermen spoke about the challenge. And what happened? According to the reports, instead of going to the fishermen and itemizing their concerns and making recommended solutions, the opposition elements went on a rampage to bash the government. Interestingly, when they were in office, notice was sent to them about the possible ban, outlining what must be done in order to avert such action. Nothing was done. And soon after the new administration came into office, the ban was effected. Are they really looking for solutions, or are they looking for topics on which to bash the sitting administration? The fishermen are left waiting, and the political noise fills the pronounced vacuum the opposition's lack of recommendations helped to exacerbate. What about the political transition when one for the road ends? This second story is deeply symbolic. Just recently, Satan's grandson announced that he's bowing out of politics after 40 plus years representing St. George Northwest. This is a huge moment. He said something that really struck me. Goes to the effect, I'm probably paraphrasing it. I've seen leadership in this country go on for so long to the point that they are not even able to physically walk. And I said, that will not happen to me. Words to that effect. That's a man looking in the mirror and being authentic about his legacy, is it? He acknowledged that sometimes leaders stay too long. But think about the political environment that created. For decades, he was the dominant figure. The NNP swept all 15 seats twice consecutively and 3 times in all. And when you have that kind of long-term dominance, what happens to authentic opposition voices? What happens to people who keep it real within and outside of the party? Often they're silenced. The party becomes a monolith. And only who breaks character, who suggests change or critiques the leader, is pushed out. In the case of outside, the then ruling apparatus, if you spoke up against them, you were ostracized, victimized, sidelined, and marginalized. Folks, I'm not speaking from hearsay here, you know. I'm speaking from first-hand experience, hence my passion when I address issues relating to that national nasty party led by that old gangster. And I hold fast to my belief that they should never ever be given a chance to hold office in and over this country ever again, for they are a den of nastinesses. So the old geezer's exit, while seemingly graceful, leaves a vacuum. And as we know, silence makes insecure minds loud. Now, with another person stepping in as the caretaker, we're going to see whether the party can handle authentic internal debate or whether the noise of insecurity will drown out new voices of reason. Who tell you that didn't start yet? I don't know. But the echo from next door, the pay for play scandal. Finally, we have to look at what's happening just a little north of us. There's a major scandal brewing about vanity awards. This is wild. A new minister alleged he was offered a Best New Minister award for a fee in the region of $50,000. He's reported to have rejected it, saying, "I will not use the hard-earned money of my countrymen to buy an award to make myself look good." But here's the kicker. He then challenged the minister he replaced to clarify if any government funds were used to secure his Tourism Minister of the Year award in 2025. So one minister is being authentic, refusing to play the game, exposing the pay-for-play system. And the other minister is dodging, saying he'll address it later in the budget debate. This is a paradox of authenticity in politics. The authentic one is making waves, but he's also making enemies. The one who might have bought the award is playing the political game, staying quiet and relying on institutional delays. This matters for Grenada, folks, because these are our neighbors. This is a Caribbean political culture. If islanders are questioning whether their leaders' accolades are purchased, you can bet Grenadians are starting to ask the same questions about their own politicians. And that's the point. When citizens start keeping it real, asking hard questions about where money comes from, about who's really benefiting from power, the insecure political minds get very loud, very fast. They send out statements. They attack. They fill the air with noise to drown out the truth. You see, today's topic is appropriate, because the government is facing a real crisis, the fish ban. And the initial reaction of all concerned is to enter the blame game rather than solve the goddamn problem. A political era just ended with Satan's grandson's departure, creating a silence within that will soon be filled with either authentic renewal or insecure noises. The regional context shows us that vanity and pay-for-play politics are under scrutiny. Citizens are demanding receipts. They want authenticity, and rightly so. So when we ask, why do people leave when you keep it real in Grenada's political environment? The answer is clear. Because the truth threatens the status quo. It threatens the comfortable narratives. And those who are invested in the old ways would rather see you leave than change themselves. Folks, silence really makes insecure minds exceedingly loud. Let's take a little break. I did promise you that you'll get a little history lesson here in Dr. the Right Honorable Sir Eric Matthew Gairy. That comes up next. And then some more. And then some more. Because we have some real fire to deliver. So stay tuned.
Want to stay informed, get educated, and feel empowered? Stay tuned where information is power.
Eddie Frederick has got it all. Inspiration, motivation, great advice, and biting opinion pieces as only Eddie Frederick can deliver. Eddie Frederick has got it all.
This is Edification, made possible by the efforts of the Center for Democracy and Good Governance, CDGG. The strength of views and opinions expressed during edification are not necessarily a reflection or representation of the sponsors and/or affiliates of this program.
I want the best for my family, so every meal has to be perfect. Every bite has to say, There's no doubt in my mind that the best in frozen meats and vegetables has to come from the Country Cold Store. Hams, turkeys, sausages, beef, pork, chicken. I just don't know my family is in safe hands. Thank you, Country Cold Store, for being there for us for the past 40 years.
There are some interesting specials available at Country Cold Store's Mini Mart while stocks last. Take advantage of these specials as they assist you to stretch your limited funds.
The Country Cool Store, providing the frozen meats and vegetables since 1969.
You're tuned to Eddie Frederick, where information is power.
Eddie Frederick has got it all. Inspiration, motivation, great advice, and biting opinion pieces as only Eddie Frederick can deliver. Deliver. Eddie Frederick has got it all.
Wonderful, folks, wonderful. You know, we talk about, I always advocate that history as a subject should be a compulsory subject in schools, especially if we have started teaching our local history, because we have so many people who just don't seem to know nothing about Grenada. And it's just sad. No preservation, no, it's just, we just going ambling through life. Hey, I didn't know that now when you talk. Oh, that man know a lot, boy. He always, that's the kind of response you get from people who were never exposed to the history, the local history of their own country. Folks, I just want to share this little tribute on Dr. the Right Honorable Sir Eric Matthew Gairy. So here's what I would consider a short bio sketch. Sir Eric Matthew Gairy, the first Prime Minister of Grenada, whose life was a powerful story of rising from the fields to power, and whose legacy remains deeply complex, even though his visionary progress is never in question, as a result of which we have the St. George's University today, a large contributor to our national economy, and an entity which brings Grenada in sharp focus in the world of medicine. Sir Eric moved from humble roots to a powerful labor leader. He was born on February 18th, 1922 in Dunfermline, St. Andrew, into a poor peasant family. After working in the oil field of Aruba for a short while and witnessing the power of organized labor, he began to organize there, something that would see the Dutch taking steps to sever relations with him, go back home. He returned to Grenada in 1949. By that time, he discovered T.A. Marichaud's fight for adult suffrage was nearing its end with the British authorities. He founded the Grenada Manual and Mental Workers Union, and later the Grenada United Labour Party, GULP, in 1950. Gairy led the 1951 general strike, known as Sky Red, demanding better working conditions on the functioning estates and plantations, which established him as a champion of the working class, women, and of course, the poor. His sojourn in Aruba linked him up with Rupert Bishop, father of Maurice Bishop, and together they became very close friends up to Rupert's death on 21st January 1974. The road to independence. His popularity led to a long political career, folks. Chief Minister, 1961 to 1962. Premier, 1967 to 1974, as Grenada gained self-rule. First Prime Minister upon Grenada's independence from Britain on 7th February 1974. But let's just look at controversy, eccentricity, and of course, the Mongoose Gang. As his power grew, his leadership became increasingly authoritarian. He ruled with an iron fist, relying on an informal but brutal security force, nicknamed the Mongoose Gang, which was allegedly used to silence political opponents and terrorize critics. Interestingly, this was disputed with time, as his younger and more active opponents, headed by Maurice Bishop, Unison Whiteman, Bernard Cord, etc., provoked him to deliver the response they knew he was capable of delivering, which resulted in the attraction of widespread sympathy, locally and regionally, to the point where they were properly able to rise up when all would have considered enough was enough. The narrative was completed with his tenure being marked by accusations of corruption, election tampering, and human rights abuses. Gairy was also known for his eccentricities, including a fascination with UFOs and the science of the intelligence of unborn children in the womb. In 1978, he addressed the United Nations to propose the establishment of an agency to investigate unidentified flying objects. Even though he was laughed at back then, today, research has proved how real these are, with major revelations being made of discoveries by various sovereign areas of the world. Well, let's talk a little bit about overthrow, exile, and legacy. On March 13th, 1979, while Gairy was in New York slated to address the United Nations on UFOs, the opposition New Jewel movement, NJM, led by Maurice Bishop, staged what was sold to the world as a coup, a bloodless coup that overthrew his government. Gairy lived in exile in the United States until January 21st, 1984. He resumed leadership of his Grenada United Labour Party in the elections of 1984, 1990, and 1995, but failed to regain power. Sir Eric Gairy died at his home at Tropical Inn in Grandance on August 23rd, 1997, at the age of 75. It is important to note that Sir Eric was overthrown at the age of 57. And when he returned to Grenada in 1984, he was 62. Imagine 5 years later, and Sir Eric paled in comparison to his dapper look when he left Grenada 5 years before. By this time, his eyesight had mostly failed, and with nowhere to call his home, lived in the Green Gables property on Upper Lucas Street, owned by then Herbert M. Squires, a former Attorney General under his administration back in the day. Properties which were reputed to be owned by Sir Eric were acquired by the People's Revolutionary Government, forcing a bitter legal battle, which ended in the court awarding such properties with due compensation. They included Tropical Inn, which was renamed under the Revolution as Hibiscus Inn, Evening Palace, which was renamed Apple Inn, both in Grandance, and Rock Gardens on the Rocks in St. George's. Of course, Tropical Inn became his official residence, where he passed in 1997. His legacy is split between his early role as a champion of the poor and his later years as a controversial authoritarian leader. His visionary leadership helped to shore up Grenadians' ownership of land through his Land for the Landless program, universal education, establishment of several roundabouts to make traffic more efficient in tight areas island-wide, and establishment of St. George's University School of Medicine, with plans for an international airport in the same area, where it was finally brought to life by the People's Revolutionary Government at Point Celine. One thing that cannot be questioned in his legacy of being a leader with class, charm, and of the people. Here ends the short tribute to Sir Eric Matthew Gairy, Grenada's first Prime Minister, who last Wednesday would have been 104 had he been alive. Folks, as we come to a close, to complete today, one question which needs to be answered is, why every election season in Grenada, there seems to be a spike in serious crime, to include rape and murder? Is it to do with necromancy, or some other form of bad spiritual vibes? Or does it have to do with subliminal messages of hate from one organization towards the other that somehow fuel the violent streak in our people? The pattern we are observing between election season and spikes in serious crime in Grenada is, of course, a serious concern. Based on the available information, the explanation appears rooted in socio-political tensions rather than more popular belief of supernatural causes. Here's a breakdown of, I would say, potential factors based on research. There's a lack of direct evidence. Crucially, no official data or reports confirm a statistical spike in rape and murder specifically during Grenada's election cycles. The claims linking the two appear to be primarily observational or even speculative. Political tensions, not necromancy. While the research mentions spiritual themes, they are used metaphorically, folks. You see, a Time magazine article discusses former leader Eric Gairy's perceived interest in the occult. And opinion pieces use phrases like breaking the spell of the leader. However, no evidence connects current crime spikes to necromancy, voodoo, or bad spiritual vibes. But what's the role of political rhetoric? Even though there is no direct evidence linking opponents of the sitting administration to subliminal messages of hate, research confirms that Grenada's political environment is highly contentious and fueled by architects of misleading information and projections. For example, a 1999 media report highlights the sitting administration back then of using criminal libel laws against a newspaper editor who published justifiable articles against its then diabolical leader. Such heated rhetoric as emanated therefrom could potentially inflame public tensions. Look at how many times the actual name of the sitting judge who ruled in the pension case was mentioned on the NNP's platform by its diabolical leader, that old nastiness, during last campaign. Do you remember? All the while, police guards were withdrawn from all resident judges during that time. And you're all big and you have sense, so you could put things together. What about socioeconomic stress and unrest? The more likely explanation lies in the social instability that elections can create. Analysis from neighboring St. Vincent notes that post-election periods can see a spike in violence. In Grenada, crime is linked to broader issues like abysmally poor socialization, youth disaffection, poverty, and drug-related violence. Gang-related too. The intense division of election season may act as a catalyst, exacerbating these existing tensions, rather than being a direct cause of specific crimes like rape. But then again, with our people as poorly socialized as many of them are, domestic crimes and otherwise rape, I would say, has to do with people not having self-respect and therefore project who they are onto others because of lack of respect for boundaries. In the case of youth disaffection or disillusionment, stems from a long and overextended period of pauperizing a large swath of the youthful population, especially between 1995 and 2022, entrapping them in a fraudulent program promoted to be a youth development program called Imani, which had no structure and no real system to graduate its participants to become productive to society. They were captive for as long as 10 and even 15 years at a rate of $800 to $1,200 per month, and in effect placed on a vote farm of the ruling party and made to believe that that scrap and crumb was a full meal. Many of them whose productive years have waned and who in effect got so accustomed to receiving pittance on a monthly basis for doing nothing, in effect while on welfare, miss that opportunity today in this era of transformation, when they are actually empowered to get up and get, so they can become more useful to themselves and society, with their former captors convincing them that they are sidelined and left out. Folks, in summary, while this question touches on local political figures and spiritual beliefs, the research suggests the issue is more likely tied to election-related socio-political stress, amplifying existing criminogenic conditions rather than supernatural forces. In fact, it is an indication of how the many simple-minded among us, the simple-minded among us, are easily swayed by the evil projections of the desperate to get back into office to continue the same old nonsense, to hold this youthful nation captive while their operatives cream off the top and feed the masses scraps so they energize their vote farm to keep them in office. I contend that the demons chasing us here in Grenada can never be as strong as the angels that have been guarding us for all our lives. I can see some of you asking, what is necromancy? Folks, it is the practice of communicating with the dead to predict or discover hidden knowledge. Traditionally, this involves summoning spirits through rituals or magic. Two main ways to look at it. In many ancient and medieval cultures, it was considered a form of black magic or sorcery, often forbidden by religious institutions. Today, it's typically associated with fantasy genres like The Lord of the Rings or Harry Potter, as well as modern occult practices. Given going concerns about the disturbance of our peace and quiet here in Grenada, it's worth noting that while some historical Caribbean figures were rumored to be interested in the occult, there is no evidence linking such practices to modern crime trends. Folks, I find it's time for me to take my leave, you know. I am in, I am out, and I'm gone. I wanted to tell you thanks for joining. Continue to share. See you next week at the same time, same place for more extraordinary programming. Until then, stay safe, stay well, remain vigilant, stay lifted, stay focused, and of course, become authentic. A lot of people are allergic to authenticity. But before leaving here today, allow me to offer some sound advice. Do not drink poison just because you are thirsty. It does not matter if you blindly trust the person giving you this poison. It is still poison, and poison kills. Do not step back into the fire just because you are cold. The fire of 1995 to 2022 was real fire that destroyed many lives, where they were given scraps and crumbs and they were convinced it was a full meal. Do not allow loneliness, boredom, or a moment of weakness to pull you back to what wounded you in the first place. People will try to tie up your brain in an effect to make you feel being alone is a problem. Familiar pain from being with the crowd is still poison, and poison kills. Familiar fire still burns. Do not fall into the trap of returning because the sting is dulled by the rest you received from that wicked and vile period of 1995 to 2022. Numbness is not healing. Comfort in healing is not safety. Do not mistake what feels familiar for what is good. Remember, it duncerized and pauperized you, dooming you to nothing. Do not walk back into torture just because you've been convinced you were doing well and therefore learned how to survive it. Torture is torture. You have to make a decision that will lift your children and their children. No retreat, no surrender. Say no to fake Christians and gangsters parading as politicians. You can find me on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, and YouTube. Type in my name, Eddie or Edward Frederick. No fake, no. Subscribe, like, and share. And be prepared to receive your mental multivitamins as directly as I deliver them to you. Until next time, stay curious, stay frank, and for goodness sake, remember to set your boundaries. Set your boundaries. I wish you well. Have a productive week, folks. And whatever you do this coming week, remember to do it for Grenada. Cheers.
Want to stay informed, get educated, and feel empowered? Stay tuned where information is power.
Eddie Frederick has got it all. Inspiration, motivation, great advice, and biting opinion pieces as only Eddie Frederick can deliver. Eddie Frederick has got it all.
This has been Edification, made possible by the efforts of the Center for Democracy and Good Governance, CDGG. The Center for Democracy and Good Governance is a sound organization established to promote and strengthen democracy.
I want the best for my family, so every meal has to be perfect. Every bite has to say, There's no doubt in my mind that the best in frozen meats and vegetables has to come from the Country Cold Store. Hams, turkeys, sausages, beef, pork, chicken. I just don't know my family is in safe hands. Thank you, Country Cold Store, for being there for us for the past 40 years.
There are some interesting specials available at Country Cold Store's Mini Mart while stocks last. Take advantage of these specials as they assist you to stretch your limited funds.
The Country Cold Store, providing the best in frozen meats and vegetables since 1969.
Need a personal integrity booster shot? Your prescription is right here. Tune in with Eddie Frederick every week. Information is power.
Attention all forward-thinking companies. Sure, you can do with a continuous positive boost to your image and impact your bottom line. If you think training is expensive, try not training and you will experience a perpetual downward spiral in patronage on account of increased dissatisfied customers. Take things into your hands and engage the best at motivation and customer care training with a tried and tested track record. Visit www.efrederick.com now and learn how you can change the atmosphere in your business and improve the customer experience for everyone who does business with you. Spice Island Beach Resort and Belmont Estate are two such local entities of world renown that have benefited tremendously from ongoing customer care, social skills, and motivation training. Training changes everything for the better for any business and every team member. Enhance employee performance through increased awareness and passion for the job at hand. Greater potential in your workforce awaits you through engaged, high-energy training that works. Log on now, www.efrederick.com.
Eddie Frederick has got it all. Inspiration, motivation, great advice, and biting opinion pieces as only Eddie Frederick can deliver. Eddie Frederick has got it all.